Hi, my name's Cat Muir and I'm here today with the very lovely Elaine, and she's going to tell you a little bit of some of the stuff that we've worked together with today so you can get an idea of what you can kind of achieve if you really want to. So Elaine, without going into anything too personal or anything like that, because lots of people are going to be having a look at this, would you like to think back, cast your mind back to about 13 years ago when we first started to embark on this journey? And do you feel that your life has changed a lot since then? Do you think it's went in the same direction it would have had we not started our work, or what do you think?
I would say life has definitely changed for the better.
Mm-hmm.
So things have improved. My thinking process, I would say, is completely different now.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks to your teaching, because it is such a learning curve, you know, it's not something that maybe comes automatic.
Yeah.
So when you start this journey, it's about relearning and reevaluating your thoughts and trying to really put things into place maybe that you hadn't thought about before. So yeah, I mean, it's I'd say I now continue to do the work, but don't think about it the same way as I maybe did at the beginning. So at the beginning, I would have to really practice or put the steps into place and really think about it step by step. Whereas now I think things are much more automatic, and I continue to practice what we talked about and what you taught me to do all those years ago.
And without going into like a specific situation, part of it was to do with your love life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first started to do the things we were talking about doing, did you find the change happened? Like, what kind of pace did it change for you?
I would say it was quite rapid.
Yeah.
I would say almost effective right away. So as soon as you put the steps into place, changed your behaviour, changed your thinking, then automatically things changed around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it was quite quick.
Yeah. I used to really enjoy actually speaking to you the following week, and then I'd find out like instantly it changed, because I think one of the first times we'd spoken about stuff, I'd said to you, if you do this step, do this step, do this step, then you'll find like in less than a week it'll totally turn around. And you were like, the next day it was totally turned around, it just changed, and that was really good to hear back. So one of the things that we worked on was your relationships, and you had a pattern of being with someone who cheated. Is that okay to?
Yeah, absolutely. I would keep going back for the same type of person without learning my lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel that is now then?
It completely has turned itself on its head.
Yeah.
I'm completely a million miles away from that scenario.
And you're in a really good relationship.
I'm in the relationship, the one.
And did you know what you wanted before we started doing the work together?
I would probably say no. I think you highlighted everything. You know, you put things into a place where you made me think about it.
Okay.
Whereas probably before I just allowed life to just gradually go along in its natural course without really taking steps to take action. So I think when you address, if you keep making the same mistakes and then you address it, you can then correct and make it better for yourself.
And how do you feel that it's crossed over to other areas in your life? Because initially when we talked, it was about relationship. And how do you feel that is with being a mum and working and everything else?
I would say it comes into my life. I think I was just speaking to you last week about it. It comes into my life all the time now. So I'm constantly passing the knowledge on, basically. You know, so what you've taught me, I now speak to my daughter, I speak to my son. The knowledge gives you power, so I think the knowledge is key. So if you know how to tackle these things, then whatever crops up in your life, you should be able to deal with it better with the information that you're providing.
And one of the things, if it's okay to mention, is you were divorced, and then you went into a relationship after that split up, that ended. Then you have children from that relationship, but you got on so well with your ex that you went on holiday with him a
That's
few
right.
times, and you went to his wedding, and
Yep.
your kids have a really happy home life
Mm-hmm.
between both of you, and they weren't affected. And
That's right.
you've seen a lot of people who haven't had the same journey as you in that respect. And how would you comment on the things that you learned and the work that we did together to help you?
Well, I think the first thing, probably the most massive step that a lot of parents tend to do when they split up is they fight with each other, and they cause angst and upset and trauma through each other, which then impacts on the children. So, you know, what you made me see was, don't have that anger and bitterness in you, because then if you have that within you, it then affects what's around you. So I'd say one of the quickest lessons, took a wee while to learn it, but once I got there, the quickest lesson was to forgive my ex.
Mm-hmm.
And once he was forgiven, it was almost like a complete release of everything, because it just felt so good to have allowed that forgiveness to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So then I didn't have all that angst and anger and upset that you would naturally, maybe a lot of people have towards their ex, because they're angry at them, or they're, you know, they want to just throw everything at them because, you know, it's frustrating.
And a lot of people, normally women, use children as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so angry with their ex. They have all this rejection and they have all this anger, and the children remind them of everything. And, you know, when you said to me at the beginning, I don't want my kids to be picked up on the doorstep, I want it to be okay, then you were prepared to do all the work with it. But it did happen very quickly as well.
It did. I think everything does happen quite quickly, because if you just put steps into place, things turn around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they do turn around very quickly. And it is quite unbelievable, because I used to phone you up and say, oh my goodness, what you said would happen has happened. So it was really quick. So I think, again, it's believing that if you trust in yourself, that if you do the steps and you put them into practice, that it will work for you. But you do have to work at it. You know, some of these steps maybe don't come naturally or to you. You know, if you have a way of thinking that you've had for 20, 30 years in your head, and then you have to start thinking a different way, that's the challenging bit. But I think
it's like learning to drive a car, really, isn't it? You know, when you first drive a car, then you don't really know what you're doing, and it's a bit clunky. And then by the time you've had your fourth lesson, it's starting to get a bit smoother.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, it's just part of your everyday thing that you do.
It becomes automatic then.
So can I ask you, if you had to think about it, if we hadn't done anything together, do you think your life would have turned out in the same way it has, as well as it has?
I would say no, absolutely not. I would say I would have stuck with my old habits. I would have probably gone down a road that wasn't going to be productive for me and my kids. You know, I would say you made my eyes open to new suggestions that would make my life better. So I think at the end of the day, no, I probably would just have been maybe stuck in a rut and possibly just, you know, going round in a bit of a circle and not really getting anywhere. So yes, it was all beneficial, you know.
It's quite emotional because we were sort of there together for it all, and you know, we've had a lot of conversations that we can't obviously discuss here on camera, but one of the reasons I'm asking you this and one of the reasons that I'm doing this is because when people ask about like what I do, then because there's so many different aspects in it, it's not just life coaching, it's not just hypnosis, it's not just NLP, it's not just any of the alternative therapies. There's so many different things, and I use the things that have worked for me and the things that have worked really well in other people, and also my life experience. But when people ask about, it's not like going to the grocers and buying a pint of milk. You put your money over and you get your bottle of milk. Yeah. So people are unsure about spending money. And sometimes, you know, like, I mean, I'm like that too, you know, you hear, oh, it costs that much, well, what do I get for it? So at the end of the day, it's quite nice for them to hear about someone who has changed their relationship, not only with the path they were on with people who cheated on them, but they found like a really, and he's a really good guy that you're with now, who would never ever cheat in a million years, completely devoted to you, everything that you've ever wanted, and your children have turned out like really great kids, and they're really happy and well balanced. And how much is that worth? Like, you know, a lot of the time you can ask the question, well, what's that worth? Having a really good relationship, what's it worth? Knowing that your kids are going to come through it and be okay. And
that's right.
You know, and
it's worth everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the really good things, is to know that it is something that works, and it does have like a really good outcome. And a lot of the times, like, people do testimonials and they say, oh yeah, that's great, you know, I'm not scared of spiders anymore, or yeah, I've broke up in that relationship. But then what I'm interested in is longer term. So we first started this off about 13 years ago.
Probably, yeah, that's right. Round about then.
And then for the first 6 months, it was sort of like quite a few calls, like once a week, definitely. And then after 6 months, then it sort of like went down. And I mean, now it's like maybe once a year you phone just for something, like a little top up of something.
I do come back to you. I do. I like a little bit of a top up or reassurance every now and again.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I know the answer.
Yeah.
But I just like to come to you so you can tell me the answer. But I already know the answers, having been through it. So yeah, no, it's quite interesting how it works now, isn't it? Because I normally I'll come to you and you'll say, well, you know what I'm going to say, and I'll go, yep. So I'm almost like reading your thoughts as to what I should be doing. So but yeah, it's interesting how it's become much more automatic now. In your thinking process. Yeah. Still things to learn, though. I would always say, you know, I'm still open to change, but I think the key thing is to have an open mind. Yeah. And I think for a lot of you maybe that are watching, you might think, oh, I don't know if I could do that, or I don't know if that's me. But then I would say, but then you have to have an open mind to try it.
Yeah, because some of the things I would suggest to you, you were like, what? And some of the things that we would do, but they all worked. And that's the bottom line on it. If you do it, if you make the commitment and you do it, it does work.
It does.
And life, once you start to change your life, once you start to go on that path, it does happen quickly, and it does just get better and better.
And you get better at it. So it's more practice in how your thought process works and how you view things as well. And I think you've certainly made me look at things and be much less judgmental, you know, and much more thinking about the outcome as well. You would say to me, so what will that achieve for you? What's the outcome going to be if you go in all guns blazing, or if you go in with this thought? And so I always now try and look at the full process. Now, before I wouldn't have done that. I might have gone in all guns blazing and not worried about the end result, you know. What the impact would have been, whereas now I'd say, right, well, if I think that or say that or do that, what will be the consequence or the action there that follows through? So it's such a good learning curve and such a good teaching. You know, you teach such a good method that it really does make you think so much better about life and life situations, life circumstances, anything. It can come into play at any point in your life. So there's not an area that it can't be used in. Yeah. You know.
I really appreciate you saying that and being so genuine. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people that watch this will know who you are as well. And I just think it's just quite nice for people to hear that there is like an amazing light at the end of the tunnel. And you're right. I mean, the journey isn't over until we're dead. You know, there's always other things. But I feel in life we have one big thing that we need to cope with, and then there's little bubbles of smaller things. And I think if you can cope with your big thing fairly early, then it just means there's a lot of fun left to have. And I mean, you're having a lot of fun, you're having a really good life, and you know, and it impacted on your children, your parents, other people around you, and now that you're able to help other people too. So I really appreciate you coming along and speaking. Is there anything you want to say to finish off?
By taking your advice and putting that into practice in your daily life can only be a benefit. So it's a win-win. For me, it's a win-win. So
if anybody's watching this just now and they're on the fence about making a decision about whether they should come and have a session or come to an event or do anything with me, what would you have to say to them?
Well, I would say just go and do it. Try it. Try one session. And guaranteed at the end of one session, you can improve. That's what I would say. You know, you've got to give it a go because, well, I'm proof in the pudding. It worked for me and it'll work for you. So I would say, yeah, just go for that one session. If you don't go and you don't try, then what's to lose? Just go and give it a shot. That's what I would say.
And you're glad you did?
Very glad. Yeah, because, and I have no regrets, you know, even though at the time I had a distressing part of my life, I suppose. A breakup is never easy, especially with young children. But I have an attitude of gratitude for all of what happened. So I'm grateful because if I hadn't met my ex, I wouldn't have my beautiful children now. And if I hadn't gone through this process, my children wouldn't have such a good relationship with their father. So I believe that because of your help, what set me on the right path, I now have this balance, which works really well for exes and their children, you know, because I think mostly in the world we have a lot of negativity around breakups. So most people break up, they fight, they don't like each other, there's animosity, and then that filters through to the children. And of course the children always feel it's their fault, and it never is. It's always the adults. And I always believe that the adults are able to get over the breakup in years down the line, but what's left is the damage that was done to the children.
Yeah.
So if you can see past your differences and if you can put the process into practice, then you know, by changing your thoughts, you're going to gain.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably one of the most fundamental learning curves within my life, to make sure that my children were balanced, were happy, you know, and came out of the breakup as well-rounded, balanced people.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted for them. So it's always been a learning curve, and it's always been this journey.
Yeah.
And you're never quite sure how the journey is going to go, but then you reap the benefits. And I hear what my daughter will say to me, what my son will say to me, and then I realise actually all that work that we put in at the beginning was so worthwhile. I'd say it's a good investment if you think about your family. Your family is your one key thing that will be with you for life, and that's your thing that you should be protecting, proud of, nurturing. So if that's what's going to help you, then I would say it's a great investment to make.
Yeah. Well, when you start to understand how people are wired up, why they do the things they do, and all the things that we went through, and when you can see it from a more unemotional standpoint, when you can understand that your children take the blame for everything, even if they don't say that, even if they don't recognise it themselves mentally, they feel that they did something and that's why mum and dad split up. That if they had been better behaved, if they hadn't broke the vase, if they hadn't did whatever it was they did, mum and dad would be together. And you know, that was quite an emotional part of your journey as well when we were working on that stuff. But you know, knowing your kids are great kids, and they are very happy at this point in time, and your life has just went better and better, and it's been a real pleasure for me to be part of that and to see it. So thanks very much. I really appreciate you coming along and having a chat about this, and letting everybody else know, because it is quite a personal thing, and again, people that will know you will be seeing this, and a lot of people have asked you over the years, you know, I don't know how you do it. They've said, I don't know, how can you be like that? How can you go to your ex's wedding? How could you go on holiday with your ex? And you know, and it was for the children.
It was always for the children, you know, like even that holiday, going on holiday, people were just gobsmacked at me going on holiday with my ex. They're like, are you off your head? What are you doing? And I'm going, but it's not about me going on holiday with my ex. It's about both children having their mum and their dad on a holiday. So what better result could you get?
There'll be a lot of people having a little bit of a giggle at that one, saying there's no way I'm going to be doing that. But
no way I'm going on holiday with my ex. But yeah, I'm proof in the pudding that it can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends how you think about it.
Yeah, well, that's everything is how you think about it, and then your behaviour just follows after that. And you were a very good student. You did do everything that I'd suggested that you do, and you came up with a lot of. It was nice because part of the way that we worked together, I would talk about other people, because everyone has the same stuff going on, and because I've worked with so many people, and you hear the same things over and over again, it's a pattern.
Yeah.
And when you break the pattern, everything changes, everything falls apart in the way that it's been going down this road, and then you change the pattern and that just breaks, and then you can rebuild it into whatever it is that you want. And that's what you've done very successfully, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy for you, and I'm really happy that you've been able to have such a fantastic outcome, and for your kids too.
Absolutely, and I'm grateful to you, because if I didn't have you there to point me in the direction and give me the advice that I needed, because obviously I was vulnerable at that stage in my life and couldn't really see clearly. And then when you pointed out all the steps I needed to do, then it was invaluable teaching. So I'm very grateful for your teaching.
Thank you, Elaine. I really appreciate that, and thanks for coming along and sharing that today with everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks very much. I've been Cat Muir, catmuircoaching.com. Thanks very much.